You know that saying that goes, who needs an enemy when you have your family? This is the case of Obi, who is a good looking man in his mid 30s. He lives with his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Maxwell, as well as his two younger twin siblings, Jane and Jude, who are both 26 years of age. Obi is a very hardworking man. In fact, he has been the breadwinner of his family for a very long time, even before his father, Mr. Maxwell, was down with stroke and bedridden. Meanwhile, his two twin siblings, Jane and Jude, have been jobless since they came back from their youth service and are reluctant on getting a job. They also relied on Obi to provide their needs. Obi has tried advising them severally on getting a job, but they would always reply with the same flimsy excuse. Jane would always say that she does not want to work a 9 to 5 job. She wants to start up her own hair business, which Obi has to finance. And Jude would tell Obi to put in a word or two for him at the company where he works, which he did arrange like 3 or 4 interviews that Jude never showed up for. Obi also tried asking his mom to talk to Jane and Jude about their joblessness, but she also doesn't ever take it seriously. Obi, why do you like complaining? Are you tired of taking care of them? They are your responsibility. Besides, the job market is no joke, she says. Obi had no choice but to drop the topic entirely because his mother obviously supports their joblessness. Despite him doing everything they want, his family constantly demanded more from him, draining his resources and energy. They never seemed satisfied. They would ask for money, gifts, and favors. Obi, out of love and duty, always obliged. He often felt exhausted and unappreciated, but he believed it was his responsibility to take care of his family. As time went on, Obi could no longer say no to their requests, especially the ones from his two siblings and mom. His father, Mr. Maxwell, although bedridden, was the only person he could confide in. He gave Obi so much hope and always advised him. He always appreciated Obi's efforts. Obi always felt genuine love whenever he was with his father. Unlike his other family members who were all about the money and benefits they got from him. He knew this in his heart but didn't dare to voice it out. He was watching a movie in his room one Saturday when he heard noises coming from the living room, so he went to check what was happening. When he got there, he saw that his sister, Jane, just came back from her usual weekend party outings, but with bruises all over her body. His mom was consoling her and cursing out at an invisible person. Her twin brother, Jude, obviously pissed off, was also shouting. Obi asked them what the commotion was all about, and his sister Jane explained to him that she caught her boyfriend cheating on her with a random girl at the club. So when she tried confronting him, he beat her up. The worst part is that I'm pregnant for him, she said and started crying again. Obi was speechless. He remembered warning her about this same boy many times, but she ignored him. He just left them and went back to his room without saying any other thing. 2 years has passed and Jane has now put to bed, which means an extra mouth for Obi to feed, but he doesn't complain at all. In fact, he has been a very sweet uncle to his niece. He carries her, plays with her, buys her toys and baby food. On one of his trips to the supermarket to buy baby formula, he met a beautiful lady, Chelsea, who he liked. He asked her for her number and they started talking on the phone. They were so in love and were fond of each other. Obi now has someone who really cares for him aside his father. He would go over to Chelsea's house whenever his mom and siblings were giving him trouble. In fact, Chelsea's house became his second home. He was so happy whenever he was with her. He wanted his newfound happiness to be his forever. He started planning on asking Chelsea to marry him. Along the line, Chelsea became pregnant. She didn't know how Obi would react, which made her wait for another 1 month after she found out to tell him. When she did, Obi was so happy. He carried her up and kissed her. He immediately went down on his knees and asked her to marry him. She said yes, and Obi jumped with joy. Obi could no longer hold the news and told his family that he would soon be a father. His father and siblings were so happy. They congratulated him, but his mom looked irritated. "You cannot bring another person into this house, Obi. You already have many mouths to feed," she said. "Mommy, what do you mean?" Jane asked her mother. "I said what I said. Anybody that does not like what I just said should go to hell," Mrs. Maxwell replied and excused herself. For the first time in his life, Obi saw his mother for who she truly is. He knows she's very demanding and doesn't show him the kind of love a mother should show her son, but this is definitely the height of it. He went after her, and when they were standing face to face, he said, "Mom, I don't know what I've done to you for you to be treating me this way. I have always been a good child to you. I have never complained about anything you do to me. But you see this, I am not going to take it. My wife-to-be Chelsea is coming next week Sunday to see you and Dad. I won't appreciate it if you repeat what you just said here to her hearing. Please, Mom, do not make my fiancé uncomfortable." Before she could reply him, Obi walked off angrily to his room and locked the door. The day Chelsea is supposed to come visit his family is here already. Obi was preparing the table. His mom refused to help him and discouraged his siblings from helping him too. Chelsea arrived, and they were all seated round the dining table except his father, who was sick. Obi would take Chelsea to meet him before she leaves. At the dining table, Mrs. Maxwell couldn't stop giving Chelsea nasty looks. When Chelsea noticed this, she just concentrated on her food. "Come, what did you say your name is again?" Mrs. Maxwell asked. "Chelsea Kayode," Chelsea replied. So you're even a Yoruba girl. And what do you do for a living?" she asked. "I actually own an online business where I sell handbags and jewelry," Chelsea replied. "Which means you're jobless now. Is that why you want to trap my son with pregnancy?" "I don't understand what you're saying, Ma." "Mom, please stop it. Let's enjoy our food in peace," Obi said with a stern voice. He held Chelsea's hand under the table and mouthed "I'm sorry" to her. When they were done eating, Chelsea helped Obi clear the table. Obi's mom left the table angrily, dragging Jude and Jane with her because Obi stood up for his fiancée against his mother. Chelsea was pressed and asked Obi the direction to his room so she could use his toilet. Obi showed her. On her way to his room, she heard mumbling voices coming from a room whose door was slightly opened. She ignored and passed at first, but came back again when she heard Obi's name. "Why are you defending Obi? Don't you know we need him under our control? If we let him marry that girl, she will become his first priority and he would stop giving us money," said the first person. "What do you mean, Mom? Are we not supposed to support him? He is our elder brother, for Christ's sake. He is also your son. Shut up. Who told you he's my son? That dirty, illegitimate child. Mom! Two voices yelled in unison. Shut up. And he's neither your brother. It's either you join me to stop this abomination that's about to happen, or just get out of my room and stop disturbing me. From the voices, Chelsea knew it was Obi's mother and siblings. She couldn't believe her ears. How can a mother say this about her child? She thought. She hurriedly left the door and went to use the toilet. When she came back downstairs, she went to hug Obi. Obi hugged her back. Then she looked into his eyes and told him that she loves him. Obi was happy to hear those words from her, so he hugged her again. Chelsea didn't want to break Obi's heart, so she didn't dare tell him about what she heard his mother saying. She just hoped that one day Mrs. Maxwell would realize that she's making a huge mistake and amend her ways.